the next thing we have to do is to mark these 1 inch up. So I need them to lay flat. And right now this other seam is being persnickety. So I'm gonna take and put this more inside out. So I'm just turning more of this so that I can get this seam to lay completely flat. And I'm going to be putting this in the machine like so, and I don't want this is a knit material and it stretches really easily, so I don't want to stretch it. I am going to cheat a little bit, I think, and shove a little bit of this in through here. There. Now, it's important when you do this. I want this seam to stay so that I have exactly my inch, and it just, part of this just ripped out a little bit here. So I'm going to take and lay this down. Some may think it'd be easier just to just to take the whole sleeve off. I don't do that. Let me see if I can turn the camera so you guys can see me mark this. Okay. All right. So I want to lay the fabric as flat as possible without stretching it. That is the goal. I'm going to take my, you quilters know what this is. So I'm going to lay this down on my seam. That 1 inch mark down on my seam like this. Okay. Let's try that again. See how I'm lining up this 1 inch seam with there. Okay. I'm going to hold that like that and grab my handy dandy chalk pencil and pull this a little bit like that, so I'm making a nice straight line. Now, I typically do not use this is a pink dress, so I'm going to use pink chalk on it. That way, if we get a little bit of residual, it is not too noticeable. The idea is not to have a piece of chalk that is too dark. All right, so I've marked that, and you can see that it slipped a little bit. Yeah, see how I marked it, and then it slipped. So I'm basically gonna mark it again. Put my chalk away, and then I'm gonna measure. Yep, that's 1 inch, and it's 1 inch to this part, not this one. Yeah, I'm trying to erase this fabric and it wants to catch on the eraser. So now, even if this chalk shows, it's not going to affect the right side of the garment. All right, so now we're going to take this to the sewing machine. And before we do that, we're going to pin. And I'm trying to get everything else out of the way. There we go. Yeah, so marking it was a little bit precarious, but we're going to pin it so that we don't accidentally sew any of the other fibers or other layers. And this is usually when I find that I do need to rip out some more of the seam. I don't want to take the seam out, but there's too much tension on this end and this end. So, grabbing my seam ripper. Yeah, that gave us a little bit of extra room there. Did you see that? I snagged that lining fabric and I kind of eased it back in there. It's a knit, so if you've ever actually knit or crocheted before, you can tell if you pull a loop from your knit and then you can kind of ease them back in there. If you don't pull and break it, once you broke it, you're done. Okay. Now we've got, I believe we've got enough space to get this. So, yeah. Another thing that can snag these knits are these pins. If they are not sharp, they can snag. All right. Let's go over the sewing machine. Okay, if you can help it, guys, don't sew over pins. They break needles. And it'll break your heart. So I am sewing along this line here. Okay. All right, so how do we do? So my stitches are a little bit shorter than the ones there. And I'm also seeing a little bit, yeah, okay. Not my favorite. So I'm going to increase the tension a little bit. And then that's back stitched. Yeah. So this isn't bad for the first. Now I'm going to go ahead and make sure that this line of stitching is exactly 1 inch from the other one. And it sure is. So that means these shoulders have been taken up 1 inch. Now that I am done with that chalk line, I am going to take some, this is perfect. Just some cotton knit. We're going to rub this out a little bit. Now, this is not going to see on the, you're not going to see this on the other side of the fabric. And honestly, chalk goes away on its own most of the time. So here we go. Yeah, see, you can't see it from that side. But that is taken up. And now we need to take up the other side, the outside of the dress. So that was the lining. So now we need to take up the, and we want to make sure this has got a chiffon layer. I want to make sure the shirring is where I want it to be. So sometimes I will pin this like down, or I'll baste it. I think I'm going to baste it. So let's go ahead and fold this over and see where we're going to be. Okay. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to baste this. I'm going to mark it and then baste it. And I think I'm going to mark it with not the pink this time.